Welcome to the ROI Peace Podcast. I'm so excited you're here. When I was first diagnosed with MS, it was in 2022, and it was in the beginning of the year. And in spring, around May, I had already signed up the previous year to go on this retreat to Destin, Florida. I love Destin so much. If you have not been, it is the best. It has beautiful clear water. It's on the Gulf side. I love the Gulf Ocean because it's super chill. There's not a lot of waves. There's not all this drop off. Of course it's the ocean. So, but it's like a warm bathwater. So you go in there, you can just float and hang out, and it's just so amazing. I love it. So the previous year I'd signed up to go to this retreat in Destin, and one of my business besties, I just love her. She was coming over from England, and we had we met in this program, in this coaching program. And this was going to be the first time we were going to see each other in person. And at the time in May, I was feeling so incredibly sick. I was so dizzy. I had just gotten on medication like 2 weeks earlier because, once you get diagnosed, then you have to get medication, and the medication it's very expensive and the insurance doesn't want to cover it. So there's a bunch of hoops that I had to go through. So it was crazy. So I went through all these hoops. I finally got this medication. And then I was like, it takes some time, let's be honest, to get on medication and feel like it's actually working. So I was so dizzy and I was so weak and I was just so sick that I was like, should I even go on this trip? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go push through it and go, I have to see my friend. She's coming from England. Like, how could I miss this? It's not like we could meet up any other time, And so I remember Scott and he drove me to the airport. I was flying out of DFW. DFW is a humongous airport. It's like the city size of Manhattan. It's insane. And so we go there and we get to the right terminal, and he's walking me inside with my luggage. And I think I got everything and I was about to go into security, and then I started to cry. Normally, I'm not like someone who cries in public just because she's going to have a mental breakdown. I was like, how in the world am I going to do this? How am I going to walk through security, walk to my terminal? I know DFW. I know I'm going to have to walk a lot. I was still very much in bed most of the day. So Scott's like, let's get you a wheelchair service. Let's get you some help. And I was like, no, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, let's get you help. And so that was the first time I had taken wheelchair service in the airport. And it was so nice to have someone wheel me through security, to have someone wheel me down to the gate. I didn't realize that you would get on the airplane first. That was so cool. And it was so helpful. And then when I was sitting on the airplane, I started having this huge panic attack because I was like, I have to sit here and I have to fly somewhere. And I've never been to Destin at the time. And I don't know what I'm going to have to get a car to go to the house that we're all staying at. There's all this craziness going through me. And I just remember I said a lot of prayers. I was like, I felt the feeling that I should go. Just take it one step at a time, one step at a time. But that was one of the first times during my super, super sick time that I asked for help. And I look back on it and I'm like, why is it so hard to ask for help? Why is it so hard to say, this is what I need? Please, can I get some assistance with this? And Aravinda and we dive into this beautiful conversation of asking for help and how that has changed our personal and professional lives. She is the founding partner of Venturous Counsel. We met at South by Southwest, and when we met, I was like, she's probably in marketing or PR. She is a lawyer, and she is a super cool lawyer. And she has dedicated her life mission to underestimated startups, to investors and value-aligned companies, because she sees them as changing the world and changing the landscape. She worked with startups from Uber to Lyft and TaskRabbit, and she has known what it takes to get something off the ground and to scale it and to have that support while also being ferociously dedicated to her mission. I can't wait for you to meet her. And we talk about the loss of her parents and the starting in big business in a big firm and not seeing the representation that she wanted to see after graduating from Stanford. And in order for you to take in her whole story, we're going to sit with peace for 2 minutes. So if you're in a seated position, you can close down your eyes, and we're going to bring peace into your body. If you're driving and doing things, go for it. Keep doing that. And as you're able to, I want you to start breathing, inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 4. Inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 4. We're going to bring peace into your body by shaking off the stress, the anxiety, and the pressure that are being held inside. You don't have to hold it in anymore. You can release it. This is your moment to move, to let go, and make room for more peace. So if you're standing or sitting, I want you to start shaking your hands gently, soft and loose movements. You can do one hand or both, depending on what you're doing. Let that motion rise through your arms and your shoulders and your upper body. Move in a way that feels good to you. Keep breathing. Let that movement go through your legs and your feet. Whatever feels right for you. With every shake, imagine that stress and that anxiety is like a ripple effect going away from your body. Feeling that energy leave your space. As you continue to shake, bring awareness to the areas that feel tight or heavy and let movement pass through those areas. Trust that your body knows how to let go of anxiety and stress. Just as much as it knows how to bring it in, it knows how to release it. You're literally shaking off stress, bringing in peace, making space for peace inside of your body. Now, as you slow down that shaking, place your hands wherever is comfortable. Let the shaking slow down in your legs and feet and any other part of your body that was moving. Take another deep breath, inhaling and exhale. And if you've closed your eyes, open your eyes. Well done. You just invested in peace. Good work. And I can't wait for you to invest in peace in this episode. I can't wait for you to meet Aravinda. I can't wait for you and I to spend more time together. You can look in the show notes for my app and mastermind and reach out to me and become friends with Aravinda. All right, we'll see you in the episode. Aravinda, are you there? Take a breath. You've got this. Hey, how's it going?
Let me grab a water because I can already...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you out in California?
San Francisco.
Okay. Oh, and you've lived there for a long time, right?
Yeah. I've been here since 20... Actually, I went to school in the Bay Area. I went to law school in the Bay Area. So 2006, actually.
Yeah. And you went to Stanford, right?
Yeah, NYU for undergrad and Stanford for law school.
Okay. So was Stanford always a dream? Because I have daughters who are lawyers. I think this is why we connected so well, who are going to be lawyers. So my second daughter, she's starting her L3 and she's so excited to get this done. And then my other daughter will start law school next year. But was Stanford always the dream,
Kind of bumbled into it a little bit because I was on the wait list and I wrote them a letter when I was a senior that was look, I'm still type A even when it doesn't matter. And I did not have help from my family when I was applying to things. They just even for college, I got into NYU because it was on the Common App. And I was like, sure, let's do NYU. I don't know. It was very chaotic vibes, but I cannot complain about where we landed with all that chaos. So...
Yeah. Did you feel because going to Stanford Law, because, okay, let's tell people who are not familiar with the law school situation. Law school is to weed people out. It is always on a bell curve. So you might have been the smartest person at NYU and you come in and whoever,
everybody feels dumb. Everybody feels dumb. Except some people don't. And then grades come out. And then certainly certain people who had never talked before now talking, people who had been monopolizing conversation, suddenly super quiet. So yeah, that's a really fun moment in the first year. which I'm sure your daughter who's at 3L like noticed as well. But
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's supposed to, you're coming from this like place where you're like, I was so smart and I had it all together, to law school where it's like, you do not, Was it hard to have that different kind of experience,
Well, here's what I'll say. I feel like I did it in the reverse order because NYU is like, you're on your own. Like there's no like you're in the middle of the city. They failed to send a tuition bill to my parents. So my parents didn't know and they didn't pay and they dropped me out of all the classes that I'd signed up for. And I was like scrambling to get into classes. I was like trying to advocate for myself. I was like a crash course in like being an adult in adulting. And, it was amazing, right? But it was exhausting. Whereas Stanford is it's kind of spa experience. They really take care of their students, small classes, really one-on-one, kind of like, it's really nice in a lot of ways. And it is true that you feel very intimidated by all your fellow students who and I went straight through. So I didn't have anything in between that I could even be like, people had like published works and I was just like, man, I don't know. Like, I'm just here.
I know. And I think that like that comparison of it's a game of learning to stop comparing to what other people are, like my
the law school system does not encourage that. It's all about comparing and like competing and whatever. And so I really think that the big law firms choose from the big law schools, like that top tier law schools, because they know these people will just work themselves to death. And that's who they want as an associate. And so they're just like, don't ask questions, just grind and grind and grind. And you kind of have to like unlearn that to make it a sustainable practice.
Yeah. So did you want to go to big law then? Is that where your idea was?
Well, I started falling in love with startups when I was at Stanford. So, and I didn't even, to be honest, this was I'm going to date myself. It's a very long time ago. It was like more than 20 years ago. And at that point, they didn't really teach about transactional law in law school. My corporations class was a class on case law about corporations. It wasn't about how to make a company or any of this stuff. They had maybe one or two clinics, but I didn't know of anything. So my first year, I did immigration work because that's what I thought I would do. And it was so depressing. Like immigrants have so few rights, like less than criminals have. And so I just was like, I don't think I could do this daily. It's like I'm not virtuous enough to be able to survive this day to day, right?
In law and in therapy and different things, you have to almost compartmentalize some of that. And I think that can be really rough.
I think it's rough because the system is so arbitrary. And anyway, so I was like, okay, I wanted to do immigration law. I can't do it. I'm not cut out for this. So then, but I was so interested. We were in the Bay Area and it was like the hotbed of startups. So I was like, I'm so interested about these startups. And then to work with a startup, you wanted to go to a big law firm because that's who represented all these startups. So I was like, okay, let's do that. And then when I got there, I was like, you guys do a really good job for startups who already made it, but you don't always do a great job for startups who are just starting. Actually, I'm the only one who's helping out those people and I'm super junior and I'm on a bunch of other deals and an M&A and an IPO and I'm doing whatever I can for them, but it's not rewarding. And you're giving them what you can on nights and weekends, and it's just not the high quality or the responsiveness that they need. So it just feels kind of demoralizing. That's what it felt like to me. So yeah.
Yeah. And so did you as you were working for that big law and you're like, hey, I love startups, but this is not like startups in quotes that are what were you feeling a bunch of emptiness and
and I also, just to be completely honest, I looked at all of the partners were male. They never had a single female partner in the corporate practice the entire time I was there. Zero, never ever. I mean, this is not that long ago, okay? Like this is early 2000s, so they had horror. I mean, I did not want their lives either. I was also like, this is not appealing to me. So I was like, there has to be a better way to service these startups, right? So a colleague of mine felt very similarly. He started a boutique law firm and I joined as one of the first attorneys there. I was there for 8 years. I was a partner for the last 5 years and I really liked it. Okay. I was very focused on early stage. I was not trying to chase these huge deals. I was trying to be the trusted advisor to these companies. But Was cared a lot about DEI. So in undergrad and law school, I was president of all these alphabet groups, I guess they call them, affinity groups. And as a partner at that boutique, I really recruited, mentored, and retained until I had the most diverse until we had the most diverse corporate practice I had ever seen. So I felt really good about that. But then I looked up our clients to do these workshops and trainings for our diverse clients. Courtney, I couldn't fill them out with our own clients. I thought if you build it, they will come. Turns out this is lies that only works in the movies. I didn't know that. Okay. Nobody told me that. So I took a step back to figure out the disconnect and realized that these startups, the boutique firms that are good at this work, right? Yeah. They're lean, they're scrappy, they don't do a lot of marketing, they're trying to keep their prices down for their clients. All good stuff. But it means that if you're not already in the network, how would you know they're good? And how would you know who they are? Right?
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a locked resource within that network. And if you're not in the network, which disproportionately women, people of color, mission-driven companies and startups and funds are, then you're locked out of that resource. You end up with a big law firm, working with someone like me that's trying their best, but it does not have the resources or the time or the experience to help you. And you're paying a lot of money for that kind of substandard service, overbilled and underdelivered is how I would say.
Oh.
Or you're working with somebody who doesn't actually know about startups and may give you bad advice and you don't know. So I saw this real gap in access. And I really don't think it's out of malice or ill intent, right? These boutique law firms are just trying to keep it cheap and efficient for their clients. But unintentionally, what it means is it leaves out this whole swath of really amazing founders and funds that really need that kind of boutique service. So I started this law firm 7 years ago because of that.
That's amazing. How do you feel now that you've started your own firm, you've been able to control more of the vision?
Man, I thought it would be less work because I would get to choose my hours, and it has not been less work. My husband's you lied to me about this, but I feel so much better. I feel such a sense of alignment with my work. I get to choose who I'm working with. The people that I'm working with have been with the firm other than a new hire for over 3 years. It's unheard of in the law practice. There's always attrition, but everybody loves the mission. They love the people they're working with. They love our clients, and that makes such a big difference just in day to day. And so, I'm a really happy lawyer, which is very unusual. I wake up every day excited to do the work that we do and to work with the clients we work with and make a difference. And so that's been huge, but it's a lot more work. It's more work than just being an employee, 100%.
Oh, it is. I think that is so funny when I see these posts on Instagram. They're I wanted to be my own business owner so I could go do whatever I want. I'm yeah, so you could bring your laptop on your vacation because you need to check in and do some things, which is great that you can take a vacation anytime, but also at the same time.
Also, at some point, people need to disconnect, right? At some point, it is necessary for humans to do that. So what I will say is it's possible, but it's a later stage goal, which is if you set yourself up with the right people. And I will say this last vacation I took. Yeah. I really disconnected. I saw emails from last week I had not responded to. Nobody responded to them. And because they had been sent just to me. And it was okay. Nothing, the world did not fall. The sky did not fall on me, And the team was handling so much else. Everything that they were looped in on, they were just executing on. So I really was able to disconnect. And I had that integration feeling because we flew in on Saturday. We actually went to Stern Grove for this concert in San Francisco, Violent Femmes. I was I can't miss it. I don't care that we're jet lagged and whatever. We're going to go. And then I started work on Monday and I felt wow, I've forgotten some of this stuff in just 2 weeks because I actually really disconnected. And it's the first time I've probably done that since I started the firm. That's
amazing. And did it, I think that part feels scary because a lot of times we, as founders, we like to control things, and we like to overachieve. And
100%.
Were you halfway freaking out that you weren't let me just dive into this one thing, let me just finish up?
Yes, I had to, in the beginning, and look, keep in mind, this is 7 years, okay? So it's been many years of trying to do this and not doing it great, right? And so eventually just seeing as I let go more and more, if you have the right team, they rise to the occasion and they actually get a lot of experience and they get a lot of feeling of they just feel they're pushing their edge. They're servicing the clients in these great ways without sometimes not having the safety net or the supervisor. It allows those people to grow and feel a lot more confident in their practice, which is also something I really care about for anybody that I work with.
Yes. Yeah. And you're building up leaders, and you're
Right.
building a new culture, which is, I think, amazing. When we connected at South by Southwest, I just love that you're like, it's so funny, but you brought this great energy. I was like, oh, she's a lawyer, because sometimes you think it's like, you're just like, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's in marketing, but no, she's a lawyer, but you just brought this great energy. And I love that your mission is on diversity that actually happens, and it happens. So how, because I think a lot of times, corporations and companies, and businesses want this to happen, but how did you actually change that and lean into that and actually make it instead of a checkbox?
Yeah. It's only because I'm running the firm. So I would say no to clients that I did not feel were values aligned or cared about that as a value for their organization. And I'm working with people, and if I feel like the people don't care about the mission, or if I'm hiring, I'm actually trying to see if somebody cares about this, because that's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what keeps you with the job when things get tough. Things always get tough in a job. It's never always going to be smooth sailing. When things are tough and things are busy, or you're in a challenging situation, the fact that you love what you're doing gets you through. And if you don't have that, and if I am only hiring based on what it looks like on the resume or the skills that they have or how polished they look, then I'm not actually hiring for the people that are going to be with us through thick and thin, that are going to stick with the firm for 3.5 years. That's, not.
Yeah.
So I think I was able to do that because I was in the driver's seat and I could make those decisions. I think when you're at a big organization, it's very difficult because the people who want to make the change are often not in that decision-making position. They're asking for someone higher up to give them funds, give them ability, give them involvement in the hiring process. And that can be given or taken away at any time. And we can see it there are tides and it goes in one direction or another. And I'm not saying the only way that you can do this is by doing it yourself, but you have to be in a position of authority to be able to stay to these goals, or you need to join an organization where that's already part of the DNA of the organization.
Yeah. Well, and I think, as every business scales, there's this sometimes we get hiring right and sometimes we don't, and it just happens, we try the best we can. But what beyond that resume, what did you really look for? What questions were you asking to get that match of your priorities and values with the hire?
Courtney, that's such a good question because it definitely got better over time. I definitely made some mistakes. I hired some people where I thought there was alignment and then turns out no, or they just were not able to work in a team. You know what I mean? If you have a deficit in skills, I can train on skills, but I can't train on the desire to work well with your other team members and to support them and help them shine rather than making things a zero-sum game. I hated that at the big law firm, that everybody came from law schools. They're clawing over each other. There's, sometimes there are little fiefdoms where you have some respite, but for the most part, everybody's clawing to the top, and it's just unnecessarily adversarially when we're all trying to do the same thing, which is support our clients and help them be successful. And so trying to evaluate and really refer references. I would call multiple references. And not only of the people that they worked under, but people that they supervised. That was the thing. Yeah, I'd be tell me somebody junior that's going to say you were a good boss. And if they couldn't come up with that, then we don't have to take this conversation any further, right?
That's a really good one. Yes. Yeah, kind of getting getting the information, because I think sometimes when we go to interviews and we're interviewing potential employees, there's this I feel like this would work out really well, but you're only seeing that one dimension, So it's doing that due diligence of okay, what other ways can we find out if this is in alignment? And then just trying the best. And sometimes it is going to work and sometimes it's not,
At least having the conversation, right? And I will say I had a benefit because when I marketed for the position, I was saying, look, this is what this firm is about. We're not about making the most money. We're also not about working the most hours, right? We want to give quality to our clients. So how do we do that in a way that is because we care so much about doing our small part to equalize the inequity and give a shot to these really worthwhile founders and funds who otherwise, all these other prevailing biases and prejudices are going to pull them down. How do we lift them up? How do we support them? And I had to see that these people actually cared, and the mission actually drew the people. So I do think I actually give my startup clients advice that they should have a mission statement, and everyone's like, oh, fluff, whatever. And I'm like, no, dude, this is so crucial because number one, it draws the right people. And number two, it helps you make hard decisions.
Yes. Okay. What's your mission statement?
Yeah, it's so it's eternal. So it's like all, but the mission is to support women, diverse, and mission-led startups and investors. Yeah. And the goal is that they all have a section of their brain that's just low-key freaking out about legal at all times, like a broken smoke detector, okay? It's so loud, it's so annoying, it's incessant. And they tried to take the batteries out, right? They asked an AI. The AI told them two different things. It's actually now louder. Thanks so much.
Yes.
If they can give the screaming mess to someone that they trust, not only are they covered on legal, but they unlock so much mental capacity. Yes. That was, worried about things in the background, worried about, and it can be there even if you're working with a top tier law firm. If you don't have a relationship of trust, if you're worried about sending them work because you're not sure how much they're going to spend on something and you're terrified and you have to negotiate the bill. I mean, this is all tax and drag. And what I want is the relationship between the lawyer and the startup or fund to be a force multiplier. I want it to be additive, not extractive or, adding more onto the founder's plate. Yeah. So that is not very pat, but that is the goal. And it's also to work in an environment where people are working as a team and supporting each other. And that I feel really great about with my team. I could not have left and disconnected if this team did not work seamlessly together.
Yes. Yeah. If you couldn't trust the people that are around you, that's huge. Now, you talked about some clients that came to you that weren't a match, weren't with this, alignment. Yeah. How do you, especially as you're building your book of clients, how do you say no when it isn't?
Yeah.
That's hard.
But you know what? It's this. It's the scarcity mindset versus abundance, whatever. The opposite of scarcity. Yeah. And when I said no to a client that wasn't a fit, in the beginning, I felt really weird. I was like, are they going to talk shit about me to other clients? I had all of these anxieties. But the reality is working with a client where you're not at your peak potential is a waste. Because you could be working with another client where both of you feel better about the relationship, you feel great about the work that you do, and then that client's going to go around and tell everyone that you're amazing. Working with a client that does not have that relationship with you is a waste of both of your time. And maybe they could find somebody else. I mean, some people can't, right? People are very But a lot of people, maybe it's just not a right personality fit. Maybe our, the way that we communicate isn't functional. And that's fine. That means it's kind of like dating, release them to find somebody who's a better fit. And then you can open yourself up to the right opportunities that are going to amplify your mission and help you feel fulfilled.
Yeah. And I think feeling for me, feeling the worthiness of, the scale and the impact that I want to have is always something that I tap into each day. It's for me, a business founder and owner is not about just, building a great team and have, making sure we're going and getting all these things accomplished. It's about going towards the vision and being that lighthouse and the keeper of the lighthouse, and then shining enough so that everybody else can be like, we see the light, we know where we're going, we're all going towards this direction. And, of course there's waves and there's choppiness and there's things that go sideways, but we know where the lighthouse is and we're going to keep going in that direction.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's that is the definition of leadership, right? That is the role. But so often we get dragged into the minutia and we get, And there is this hustle culture. And like the fact that I took the time off, I mean, you feel a little bit guilty about it. You're like, could I be doing more? I see all these events happening. I'm like, well, I can't attend them because I'm not even in the Bay Area. So like, oh, well. But the goal of the leader is to find some open space so that they can hone in on this. And it sounds like you're amazing at it. Every day you're kind of realigning on that. I think a lot of people lose track because there's so many small things that distract and pull you down every day. So I really, I applaud that you found that. It took me a long time. But also when I built this firm, I'd already been practicing for 13 years. So it's different than if you just go out there and you try and make this anew. I think I was worried. I'll tell you one thing, Court. I was worried when I started this firm because lawyers don't promote based on skills at managing. Let's put it that way. I've never had a good boss. I never had a supportive training, mentor. I had mentors, but they weren't really my bosses, right? They were slightly higher up on the tier, and they were often women, and they often left because that's how big law is. And when I became a leader, I was like, and when I started this firm, I was like, originally I just started with me, which was a terrible idea. Okay. I was like, well, if I hire somebody and then we don't have enough work and then I fire them, then I've ruined their life. And, I can't do that. Yeah. Meanwhile, I had way too much work from the get-go. And then I got pregnant, Courtney. I got pregnant. It's like, maybe I would have stayed for that maternity leave if I had known. Okay. If I had known. But we made it work. And what I will say is I had learned a lot about how not to manage from, so there are things you can learn from a great model. There are also things you can learn from a not great model. Yeah. And that helped me. And I was also hyper aware that this was an area where I did not feel as confident as I do about my capability to handle any legal issue that comes up. I knew that this was something where I had to work on it. And I worked on it. And I'm still not the best manager. There are other better managers at my firm, but I'm working on it every day. I'm getting better. And it's something I know is an area. And also, my role is not to be the best manager at the firm. My role is to lead. So that's also something that's important. And to staff the firm with other excellent managers.
Yeah, so that you're bringing in this talent that you can all work together and drive the ship together towards that light. So, okay, so you talked about having kids as you're building this firm. And I think this happens to a lot of women, right? We're building and scaling, and we have children. How did that shake the whole thing?
It was horrible, dude. And also it wasn't horrible because I had a kid. Obviously, I love my kid. I'm delighted. It was horrible because I did not manage it correctly. And I knew after that I had done that, I saw other models of people who had outsourced work to a friend and then they paid the friend, you know what I mean? Like another small law firm, and they got work and they got paid, but then they brought the clients back once maternity leave was over, whatever. I have a funny story where the first attorney that I hired, she's amazing. I knew I would have to train her up a little bit. It was during COVID times too. Oh. So everything was on Zoom. And from the neck up, you could not tell that I was pregnant. I was just, who knows, right? So when I gave her the offer, it was August maybe. And I was like, so you're going to start and we're going to train you up because I'm due around Christmas. So I'm going to have you kind of hold down the reins a little bit while I go on leave. And she's like, cool. I'm due January 10th. Yep, that happened.
Awesome.
That happened. So I panic hired somebody who did not actually have the skills. I ignored red flags because I was desperate. Yeah. And it turned out to not be great. And then I terminated that person in February 1st or something. And so, but me and the other attorney who's still at the firm, Jennifer, she had another kid at the firm. That experience was a lot better for her, I think, than the first one for both of us. We survived, but I really downplayed it to my clients. I did not. I was worried they were going to leave. They're a single woman, and so I didn't really say anything. I slid it into during Christmas, I'm, going to be out on maternity leave a little bit and blah, blah, but I'll still do stuff. And because I panic hired somebody and I had my laptop in the hospital. It was bad. I didn't do it right. Okay. I did it pretty wrong, but we survived. And I learned from that you have to ask for what you need. And if people say no, then they said no, but you don't say no to yourself before you even ask, So the next year and every year since, I've told my clients at the end of the year, 2 weeks, until the new year.
Yeah.
Our firm is on slowdown. What that means is if something urgent comes up, we will deal with it. But we're not going to do some random fire drill that like you knew about at the end of November and you didn't tell me about until the end of December. We're just not going to do that. Tell us that we let the clients know. We're very clear at communicating. And if a real urgent thing comes up, of course, we're handling it. If I had somebody who was like, I need this commercial agreement done. I scrolled down and I was like, you knew about this on November 27th. We are not going to do this for you. I'm sorry. Yeah. And you know what? The client's still with us. And I was like, if they leave, they leave. But this is another values kind of thing. Everybody needs a break, So our whole firm it's not real vacation. It doesn't take away from PTO. It's not off, but everybody's supposed to be working less and spending more time with family overall during that period and just doing the maintenance stuff.
That is so amazing. And it really is. It gives people permission to recognize we're humans. We cannot be going full throttle all the time. And actually, we're so much better. Yeah, we're so much better when we take time off. And I was just having this conversation with my husband this morning, actually. So we voice message each other in the morning because he's an early morning riser and I'm not. And so he voiced this message to me. He's like, you know what? I think I need to be better at managing, not filling all my time with work. So basically our kids are all grown. And so we'll have dinner together. We'll watch a show. And then after the show, he gets his computer back out and he's finishing some stuff. So last night, he brought his computer into bed. He was like, I just want to finish a couple little more things. And I was like, and then he's like, I cannot go to sleep. I'm having a really hard time. I'm feeling really stressed. And he didn't even really have many deadlines, coming up. So I was like, I wonder if it might be good to look at, having pockets where you're like, hey, after this time at night, I'm not on my computer. Unless something is the project is going sideways, And it takes some real intention to do that.
It does, but it's like a habit, though. Once you start doing it, it becomes a practice. People exercise, right? Yes. I don't know. Maybe there are some weirdos that like exercise. Most people hate exercising, okay? I'm one of them. But I exercise. I plan for it in my day. I just do it. Automatically, it's now a habit. If you do that about disconnecting before bedtime, sleep is better. You get more sleep. It's more restful, more REM. And then that allows you to be on top of things during the day. Those days where you're just like, oh my God, I'm just nailing today. Yes. What if every day we're like that, right? Can we set ourselves up for success in these small ways where less can be more, where rest equals better performance, where it's not just hustle and churn, where it's thoughtful and strategic in the way that we're supposed to be thoughtful and strategic as leaders? Can we do that with our own energy?
Yes, totally. Okay, so tell me, I've been working on my nighttime sleep wind down. Do you have a good nighttime sleep wind down situation?
Well, I will tell you what, with my first kid who had real troubles napping, I dug deep and I rabbit holed like a whoa. It was it was intense. So we with them having a routine that you do every night, and most people naturally end up doing this, right? You maybe wash your face, you brush your teeth, you do a couple things. Having that routine and having smells that actually relate to it, not only spa vibes, but also help prepare your brain. You smell this specific lavender smell. You're like, okay, it's ready. Time, lights out soon. Also, going from warm to cold. So taking a warm shower or getting your body heated. And then when the body temperature drops, it knocks you out.
That's a good one.
I had a little postpartum insomnia and it was way bad. And so I dug deep into all these things. And I'm also I look so unattractive in the bed, okay? My poor husband. I got earplugs, I got a mouth guard, I got an eye mask. I'm like, what else can we possibly add? But it means that, I'm not snoring, I'm sleeping deeper. And we're in the perimenopause stage, guys. So now I had the night sweats. So I finally got some hormone replacement and I'm doing the progestin pill and then the estrogen gel. And that's been great. So it's, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's doable. It's doable. And it's doable even for kids,
And on a busy schedule, it is such a must. Like one of my clients, she's going through a really difficult time and she's taken some leave of absence from work. And we were talking about her sleep time routine and like how she instills more peace into that. And one of the things I did that shifted everything was I just got myself, I was gifted a purple pillow. My goodness, the purple pillow.
I have a purple bed, dude. I like shelled out the big bucks for that.
Yes.
Sleeping on a cloud. It's so big.
It is amazing. Everything that I feel like sleep is the best thing, the best investment I make on my whole entire day. You know, it is just a beautiful, beautiful thing, you know? So I absolutely love it. Okay. So one of the other things besides sleep that helps me to have peace and invest in peace in my life is human design. And so for everybody, all our friends, human design is like this personality test. It's like the Enneagram and Strength Finders, but it's kind of this woo-woo thing because it's only based on our time and date of place of birth. And but there's like 35 to 40 parts of a human design chart. And so I pulled one part of your human design chart that can help you have peace as you navigate all the amazing things you're doing. So now, in human design, one of the parts of human design is your type. And this is kind of like your operating system. And so your operating system is a generator. And so generators, their gifts are you are an Energizer bunny. You make things better and better and better. Almost like this hyper focus of like, how are we going to make this better and better and better and better? It's like,
sounds very on point. Okay. So far.
And then you also have this yes-no signal within your body. It's like a yes is like the sparkly, like almost like fireworks, like, oh, that feels right, good and aligned. And then a no in your body feels like this, like responsibility and like the settling and stuff like that. It just feels like a blah, like uninterested or not contentment, the opposite of content,
Yeah.
And so that really helps you to navigate, like where do you need to walk towards and where do you need to walk away from? And so your peace power statement is, my sparkle is my greatest business strategy. So this inside feeling is like, okay, I know on a spreadsheet, this might look like we should go this way, but I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling like we need to be driven this way. Just like opening up your own firm. You're like, this kind of doesn't make sense, but it does in here, Yeah. So that's when you need to go towards. What's lighting you up right now the most that you're working on?
Well, I mean, I will say that like just setting up a firm so that I can actually take time off is like, I feel really proud of that, to be honest. That I have surrounded myself with amazing people that are better than me at a lot of the things that I pride myself on. And that's humbling and feels scary in some ways. And also I'm like so psyched. My team is amazing. So that is really exciting. Also, I had a realization last year. Well, sort of end of last year. So I'll share some personal stuff that's happened. My dad passed away like a year and a half ago, and my mom passed away in January. They like,
Aravinda, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It was rough. And my dad had been sick for a really long time. So like that was kind of expected. But my mom physically was okay, but was grief stricken and also kept falling and fracturing and getting back. And so that was just, we did everything. She had 24-hour caretakers, but she would still somehow just all of a sudden fall. It's crazy. And she wouldn't be in a wheelchair. She refused. She was like, I'd rather die. So she did not do that. So in the summer, normally my brother and I, we all live in the same area. My mom lived in a duplex with my brother. Normally we coordinate our summer vacation so someone's around at all times, even though she had the caretakers, but like to have family. We screwed it up and we were going to be away for 3 weeks all at the same time. And I was like, crap. Like, what does this mean? Do I have to cancel my vacation? That's probably what I should do. But when my dad passed away, actually, I told everybody we're going to do a Zoom memorial. Don't come for the memorial. What I want you to do is come spend time with my mom during the year. And so I kind of called in that favor. And I told everybody, the cousins of mine, hey, can you come and actually spend some of your summer vacation with your ailing aunt, which is like not the most fun thing to do probably. And all three of my closest cousins stepped up, and I'm so grateful. But I also felt kind of Machiavellian, right? Like I had gotten what I wanted, at the expense of nicer people than me, basically, right? I was not willing to sacrifice the summer vacation and that, not sacrifice, but still like not maybe what you plan to do, not your optimal outcome. And I'll tell you, she passed away in January. So she was doing really poorly in December. And so I was calling people to let them know and let them talk to her one last time. And those cousins were so grateful to me that I had reached out because they hadn't seen her in years.
Yeah.
And they were so grateful that I had reached out and they had gotten this quality time with her that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And she told me all about it. She loved it, of course. Like she kept telling me about what happened when I was gone and referring back to then. And I realized that like when we build community, it's a situation where capitalism, win-loss math doesn't apply. It can actually be a win-win-win. It can actually make everyone better off. So it was like a really important realization. And it also required me to ask for help, which I think also I'm learning that I've been habitually trained to not do and not feel like a burden. And honestly, this desire not to feel like a burden, I feel like is partly what killed my mom. She was in such a caregiving role to my father and to all of us. And when she then had to be the receiver of care, she like couldn't handle that transition. So I think for everybody, it's important to build community. So this year, we've had so many events. And let's be honest, like I was not always in the great place for these events, right? Because I had just lost my mom. I'm dealing with grief. I'm going to therapy. I'm doing all the things. But I knew that this is something I knew was important. And last year just cemented how transformational this can be and how it shifted, like that experience in the summer, that experience in the winter shifted my whole perception of how I did something that was a benefit for everybody instead of feeling like I was kind of being selfish and self-serving in that. Everyone was better off. I had my vacation. So anyway, I won't belabor it, but the point is we've been doing a ton of events at our firm and those lose money, but I think they're so important for what this firm wants to be. So I think they'll generate more clients and they'll generate more visibility and all those things are true. And yet what I care about is making sure that I'm using the success that we've built so far to achieve goals that are not just specific to the firm, but that are like based on what I'm experiencing in my life and like the realizations that I'm having.
Yes. And being a good member of community, whether that's your work community or your family community, I think one thing that MS has taught me so much is that I have had to ask for help and it is really hard. I don't know what it is about like we are not conditioned to ask for help, or it looks like a weakness, or it looks like we, are not reliable.
You want to help people. Yeah. Yes. You want to help people. You don't want to be the recipient of help. But every time there's a recipient of help, there's also someone who's helping you that feels great about it.
Yes, totally.
You cheat them of that ability to feel amazing if you don't ask for what you need.
Yes, totally. Every time I travel, I do the wheelchair service because I have never realized that traveling is really exhausting. Like going to an airport, walking all the steps, standing in line and stuff like that. And so when I get to the airport, as we're going to the airport, I always have to tell myself, you can do it. Get a wheelchair. It's going to be fine. And then a lot of times the wheelchair service, they're pretty backed up, and I feel kind of dumb because here I am, like, I don't look like I need a wheelchair, but inside I'm like dizzy and I have fatigue all the time. And so sitting next to people who look like they might need a wheelchair, I was like, okay, I really do. But I've had a lot of times my family push me, be my wheelchair pusher because the wheelchair service is kind of backed up and there's a lot of people. And I'm like, okay, my kids can push me. My husband can push me, and we have so much fun. My kids are like, this is amazing. They're like strolling me through the airport, and having a great time. And they just love it. And I realized, I was like, when I ask for help, it's actually a connection to the people that are helping me. And we become more connected. And it's been so sweet because my kids, they are very aware of like my limitations during the day of like, and when I feel tired and they're like, hey, are you okay if we go do this? How are you feeling? And I asked my husband, I was like, have you had a conversation with them about like, hey, make sure you're taking care of your mom while she's visiting or or, or whatever. And he's like, no, it's coming from them. And I was like, oh my gosh, it just makes me so happy that I have been vocal about what I needed, because I didn't realize the after effect would be them having some more compassion and thoughtfulness.
Empathy.
Yes. And empathy to people who have challenges. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think asking for help, asking for what we need personally and professionally, us to have so much more success in all areas.
That's true.
So in business, we talk about this ROI all the time, right? Of like return on investment from funnels, from events, from, performance measures, all these partnerships, whatever. And the ROI of peace is really investing in peace. And when we invest in peace, we can think more clearly. We can lead more powerfully. We can build more sustainably. And that's really the ROI of peace. And which area of your life are you asking for more peace right now, personally or professionally? And what would that look like in your daily life?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on it in all sorts of areas. I will say I'm being really vulny here. Okay.
I love it.
Like, one of the crazy things about this past trip, this is the first time I was traveling and neither of my parents are alive. And I deeply miss them. And I'm still in the grieving process.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't worried about them. Like in every other vacation I've gone, I've been worried. I've been crying. I've been checking in. I've been talking to their doctors, doing whatever. So like I had so much more space, but I also miss them so much. So it's like, it's like, it's weird. There was peace, but there was also sadness in that peace. So I think to answer your question, I'm working on just accepting that we have to move in the right direction and the stuff will sort out. And that generally is how I approach things. I'm like, if you do it with the right intentions and you put your efforts in, it'll work out. But man, we've been hosting all these events, which like a tiny law firm normally like we'll join on, but we don't organize, we don't host, we don't like get all the food and get the venue and everything. We've been doing that a lot this year. And I feel like I've heard from people who have connected at our events or who have found the person that they want. And that gives me some peace too. That we're achieving more than just the work element of it. We're achieving a deeper goal. And yeah, I'm working on it with work. What we talked about. Yeah. Not feeling like we got to be hustling. I mean, law is also terrible because we bill based on hours.
Yes.
So like at the end of the month, like how busy were you actually, Aravinda? Let's see the numbers. But yeah, I turned it off and the team stepped up. And so it's doable. I have to like lean into that more and also create space that isn't just vacation, right?
Yes.
Create some space during the week. I do have meeting-free Fridays and I try and meet up with a person in real life on a Friday.
Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, I love that. I do. I do meeting-free Fridays, but I don't do a meetup, but that would be really nice.
Just go for a walk. Meet a friend that you've been meaning to catch up with. Most people are not super busy on Fridays anyways. Yes. They're kind of already mentally checked out, I go like rock climbing with a friend or like, or just go to a brunch or go eat some ice cream, like whatever, like do something that is joyful, but that is in community with someone else. And so that's something that I've been working on, preserving that time and really carving it out. And if I have to have an emergency meeting, I'm jamming it in early. So I still have the day to like meet up with someone.
That is amazing. I love that. Okay, everybody wants to be friends with you. All our audience, all our friends listening, they want to be connected with you. Where's the best place to jump in?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to put my email out there, okay? Yes. It's a lot of letters, so bear with me, okay? It's my first name, Aravinda, Aravinda, at venturouscounsel.com. VenturousCounsel.com. I know it's a long name, guys, but it's cool.
We got this.
Yeah. And you can also go to the website, venturouscounsel.com. And, we're on the socials. I definitely feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love being a resource to people because I now have been doing this work for over 20 years. I actually know lawyers who aren't even in my area that are amazing. So whatever you need, I love to connect people with the right resource that they need and just help however I can. So just reach out. If you are a startup or in a fund or somebody who needs legal on that, element, you can book a free consultation with me. The link is, I think, on the web with me or the other partner, my firm, Michael, who's amazing. Yeah. So reach out, connect with me, refer your friends, tell everybody there is a law firm that's specifically about working with women, diverse and mission-driven startups and investors. And once they work with us, they'll be delighted. But it's just the problem of like learning that we exist and that, we're there as an option.
Yes, that is amazing. Aravinda, this has been so beautiful. I love that we went to so many great places.
Deep places.
Yes, yeah. I love it. I just, that was so beautiful. I feel so happy and joyful. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been amazing.
Thank you for running this. This is like, it makes a lot of sense. And we need these reminders because this is the important work that is not urgent, that always falls by the wayside, and yet it is integral.
It is integral, yes. Listeners, friends, thank you so much for being on the show today and listening. And remember, your peace is the most profitable thing you'll ever invest in. We'll see you in the next episode.